Hey everyone, and welcome. As developers, we are obsessed with precision in our code. A single misplaced comma can break everything. But what about in our communication? Today, we're going to build a communication toolkit designed to turn that vague feedback into crystal clear instructions that honestly will prevent bugs, save a ton of time, and make you a much more effective teammate. I mean, come on. We've all seen this comment in a pull request, right? Maybe it's a good idea to refactor this. But what does that really mean? Is that a polite suggestion I can kind of ignore if I'm in a hurry? Is it a strong recommendation? Or is this actually a mandatory change before this thing can get merged? That ambiguity right there is exactly the problem we're going to solve today. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to build our communication toolkit piece by piece. First, we'll talk about why this precision is so critical in our world. Then, we'll get into the tools for making requests, laying down the rules, giving solid advice, and finally, this is a big one, drawing that super clear line between what's optional and what's absolutely forbidden. Let's just put it bluntly. Ambiguous language leads to bugs. It really does. A tiny misunderstanding in a code review or a spec doc can spiral into delays, tons of rework, and just so much frustration. Using the right word is every bit as important as writing the right line of code. It's all about building a shared understanding and doing it fast. Okay, let's get into it with our first set of tools. This part is all about how we ask our colleagues for stuff. Whether it's asking for help on a really tricky problem, getting a quick code review, or maybe getting permission to access a system. So the first two tools in our kit are can and could. Now, they both help you make requests, but they carry a slightly different weight. And honestly, picking the right one can subtly change the vibe on your team. Just think of can as direct, informal, get it done. Could adds this really crucial layer of politeness. Let's see what that looks like in practice. And this is where the nuance is just so important. Can you push your changes? Totally fine. It's a direct request to a teammate you work with every day. But let's say you're asking someone from another team or maybe a more senior dev. Could you check the logs? Just softens that request and feels way more respectful. It's a tiny change, but it can have a huge impact on how you collaborate. All right, let's build on that. We're moving up the ladder now, from polite requests to the absolute non-negotiables. We're talking about system rules, security policies, and the core requirements that a feature must meet to even be considered done. In this territory, there is zero room for ambiguity. So for these non-negotiables, our tools are must and have to. They both scream, this is an absolute necessity. But, and this is super important, they are not interchangeable. You can't just swap them. Knowing the subtle difference tells you where the rule is coming from. And here it is, that key difference. You use must when you, the speaker, are the one imposing the rule. You must read this new security doc. That's a strong, personal directive coming from a tech lead, for instance. But the API has to return JSON. That's different. That's an external, objective fact. The system is built that way. It's a rule of the environment, not just your opinion. All right, this next section, this is where so much of the magic of collaborative coding really happens. This is the language of code reviews, of mentoring. It's how we share our expertise, not as these strict orders, but as really valuable advice to help lift up the whole team and the quality of the codebase. And our go-to tool here is should. It is the perfect word for giving constructive feedback. It signals, hey, this is a good idea, or this is a best practice, or here's a recommended improvement, all without making it a mandatory merge blocking command. And this example just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? Look at the difference in urgency. You should add more comments is about making things better for the next person. It's great advice. But you must fix the memory leak? Well, that's a critical requirement. One improves quality, the other one prevents the whole system from crashing. And this is exactly why should is really the language of collaboration and mentorship. It's how we share what we know and elevate the whole team. It's about offering guidance and suggestions that empower our colleagues instead of just barking orders at them. Okay, we have now arrived at our final and maybe the most critical distinction in our whole toolkit, because messing this one up, misunderstanding the difference between something that's simply not necessary and something that is actively forbidden, can lead to wasted time at best and, well, catastrophic production failures at worst. So let me just ask you directly, when you're writing instructions for a team meet, how do you make it absolutely clear that something is not needed versus something that is not allowed? The answer lies in two very, very different phrases. Just look at the insane difference in weight between these two statements. You mustn't commit APIs. That's a critical red alert prohibition. Doing this is a security disaster. It means do not do this under any circumstances, ever. But then, you don't need to run tests manually. That's just a helpful efficiency tip. It saves your teammate time by telling them a process is automated. One prevents a complete disaster, the other saves 5 minutes.
And you can see why getting this right is so important, right? I mean, if someone reads don't need to and thinks it means mustn't, they might avoid a really helpful diagnostic step. But way worse, if they read a mustn't and think it just means don't need to, they might push a secret API key into a public repository. Precision here is, and I mean this, absolutely everything.
So let's wrap this all up into 3 actionable steps you can start using today. First, before you even type, decide on your intent. Is this a rule, advice, or a request? Is it a must, a should, or a could? Second, be direct. Get rid of those wishy-washy words like maybe or perhaps and use a precise verb instead. And finally, before you hit send, just reread your comment and ask yourself, is the action I need and its priority perfectly clear? So I'll just leave you with this one last thought to take back to your team. The next time you see that word maybe in a pull request or a spec doc, I want you to think about its potential cost, the cost in time, in confusion, or in actual bugs. By mastering this simple toolkit, you're not just improving your grammar, you are literally upgrading your entire development process. Thanks so much for joining me.